In this video, we're going to take a look at how to begin the process of smoothing along with detailing out meshes. So whenever I begin this process, what I do is I go ahead and I select all of the pieces in the object and I add an open subdiv modifier to them. Now the reason that I do it to all of the pieces is so that way I can apply an open subdiv at kind of a global type level, because if I add it to all of these, they will be instanced on one another. Now before I do that, let's make sure that we don't actually have any open subdiv modifiers on any of these pieces. So like with this one, let me go ahead and open the group and just check the pieces, and it looks good. Let me go ahead and go to group and close that. So we have the main piece here and all of these other pieces. Looks like I needed to change the color of that one here, so let's change that to black and add that gray material. And let's add just this one and assign that. There we go. And then just making sure that I have all of this correct. So it looks like that was the only piece. Now with this, let's go ahead and select everything. And actually, yeah, we're going to go ahead and leave our reference images for now because we will need to look at them just a little bit. So with this, let's add the open subdiv modifier. Okay, now it's saying, all right, we're gonna, one of more of the objects is going to be a reference of the another. To edit the modifier you've applied, select the objects individually. So what I'll do is go ahead and hit OK. And once I select one of the objects and I start to modify that smoothness, notice it's doing for the others as well. So that can be very helpful. Let's go ahead and leave it at 2 for right now, just to keep things at a manageable state. So now let's take a look at the process of detailing these things out. You'll notice that as we add this smoothing algorithm, the open subdiv, what it does is it makes things a little mushy. It tries to round them out based on the existing geometry that we've created. And what we want to do is we want to harden up edges to keep them crisp where we actually need them. Now, if we have an item, like let's say right here, the roundness of the bottom part here, that's perfectly fine. That's actually what I was looking for on that. But in some areas, like the rim here where it comes off the bottom of the drone, I wanted that to harden up a little bit. So how do we get that back? Well, what we need to do is we need to add another modifier to this called the crease set modifier. Now, with this particular modifier, I'm only going to add it on an object by object basis. So with this particular object, let's go to Edit Poly, go to the modifier list and add crease set. Now you'll see crease, but I want crease set. What this is going to allow me to do is select the edges of the model that I want to crease or harden up to make the proper angles that I want in the detail. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about this as we continue on. Before we start detailing and things like that, we need to make sure that our model looks good with the smoothing algorithm applied. Now typically what I do is I hit F4 to turn off all of the wireframes because it can get in the way and can cause us to think that something looks good when it actually doesn't look proper smoothed. So let me select this. Let me add one more smoothing iteration to it. And let's just kind of look at this. And for the most part, it looks pretty good, but I'm noticing a little bit of something right here. Another way that we can easily see this is to go to our material, double click on the material that's applied, and then adjust the specular level, and then also the glossiness. And what this will do is really show you some areas that could be problematic, and I could really see it right here, a lot of pinching. Now, another way that I know that there's going to be a lot of pinching there is just by looking at the wireframe itself. So hit F4 to get back to that. So looking at this, you can see that we have 8 different edges coming into this one point. Whenever that is smoothing, it's trying to pull from all of these different directions, and it can cause a pinch right here. Normally the highest valence that I will go with, now a valence is the amount of edges that go into a single point. The highest amount of valence that I will have on a model is typically 6. Anything higher than that, you really start to get something like this. Now, there are some points where you just can't help it, but in this particular instance, I can help it. Now, one other thing, really quickly, I took this guy. Let me right-click and delete that open subdiv off of those pieces there. Remember, we created those with Boolean, and we already smoothed them out, so I don't really need a smoothing algorithm for this. So how do we fix a piece like this where there's a high amount of valence? Well, I'm going to take some time to really talk about this and talk about the importance of fixing the model while you have a smoothing algorithm applied, and I want to dedicate that to an entire video. So we'll go ahead and we'll start talking about how to troubleshoot smoothing issues in our next video.